Today we'll read first chapter of biology of class 11, that is the living world. How wonderful is a living world. The wide range of living type is amazing. The extraordinary habitat in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forest, ocean, freshwater lakes, deserts, or hot spring, leave us speechless. The beauty of galloping horse, of the migrating birds, the valley of flowers, or the attacking shark evokes awe and a deep sense of wonder. The ecological conflicts and cooperation among the members of population and among the population of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, make us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. This question has two implicit questions within it. The first is a technical one and seeks answer to what living is as opposed to the non-living. And the second is a philosophical one and seek answer to what the purpose of life is. As a scientist, we shall not attempt answering the second question. We will try to reflect on what is living. What is living? When we try to define living, we conventionally look for distinctive characteristics exhibited by the living organisms. Growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment, and mount a suitable response come to our mind immediately as unique features of a living organism. One can add a few more features like metabolism, ability to self replicate, self organize, interact, and emergence to this list. Let us try to understand each of these. All living organisms grow. Increase in mass and increase in number of individuals are twin characteristics of growth. A multicellular organism grows by cell division. In plant, this growth by cell division occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. In animals, this growth is seen only up to certain age. However, cell division occurs in certain tissue to replace lost cells. Unicellular organisms also grow by cell division. One can easily observe this in vitro cultures by simply counting the number of cells under the microscope. In majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. One must remember that increase in body mass is considered as growth. Non-living objects also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criterion for growth. Mountains, boulders, and sand mounds do grow. However, this kind of growth exhibited by non-living object is by accumulation of material on the surface. In living organism, growth is from inside. Growth, therefore, cannot be taken as a defining property of a living organism. Conditions under which it can be observed in all living organisms have to be explained, and then we understand that it is a characteristic of a living system. A dead organism does not grow. Reproduction likewise is a characteristic of a living organism. In multicellular organism, reproduction refers to the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. Invariably and implicitly, we refer to sexual reproduction. Organisms reproduce by asexual means also. Fungi multiply and spread easily due to the millions of asexual spores they produce. In lower organisms like yeast and hydra, we observe budding. In planaria, that is flatworms, we observe true regeneration, that is, a fragmented organism regenerate the lost part of its body and becomes a new organism. In fungi, the filamentous algae, the protonema of mosses all easily multiply by fragmentation. When it comes to unicellular organisms like bacteria, unicellular algae, or amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with the growth, that is, increase in the number of cells. We have already defined growth is equivalent to increase in the number of cell or mass. Hence, we notice that in single-celled organism, we are not very clear about the usage of these two terms, that is growth and reproduction. Further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce, that is mules, sterile worker bees, infertile human couples, etc. Hence, reproduction also cannot be an all-inclusive defining characteristics of living organisms. Of course, no non-living object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. Another characteristics of life is metabolism. All living organisms are made of chemicals. These chemicals, small and big, belongs to various classes, sizes, functions, etc. are constantly being made and changed into some other biomolecules. These conversion are chemical reactions or metabolic reactions. There are thousands of metabolic reactions occurring simultaneously inside all living organisms, be they unicellular or multicellular. All plants, animals, fungi, and microbes exhibits metabolism. The sum total of all chemical reaction occurring in our body is metabolism. No non-living object exhibit metabolism. Metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free system. An isolated metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism performed in test tube is neither living nor non-living. Hence, while metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception, isolated metabolic reaction in vitro are not living things but surely living reaction. Hence, cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of all life form. Perhaps the most obvious and technically complicated features of all living organism is this ability to sense their surrounding or environment and respond to these environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical, or biological. We sense our environment through our sense organs. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperature, other organisms, pollutants, etc. All organisms, from prokaryotes to the most complex eukaryote, can sense and respond to the environmental cues. Photoperiod affects reproduction in seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. All organisms handle chemicals entering their bodies. All organisms, therefore, are aware of their surroundings. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself, that is, has self-consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, becomes the defining property of living organisms. When it comes to human being, it is all the more difficult to define the living state. We observe patients lying in coma in hospitals virtually supported by machines which replaces heart and lungs. The patient is otherwise brain dead. The patient has no self-consciousness. Are such patients who never come back to the normal life living or non-living? In higher classes, you will come to know that all living phenomena are due to underlying interactions. Properties of tissues are not present in the constituent cells but arises as a result of interactions among the constituent cells. Similarly, properties of cellular organelles are not present in the molecular constituents of the organelle but arises as a result of interactions among the molecular component comprising the organelle. These interactions results in emergent property at a higher level of organization. This phenomenon is true in the hierarchy of organizational complexity at all levels. Therefore, we can say that living organisms are self-replicating, evolving and self-regulating interactive system capable of responding to external stimuli. Biology is a story of life on earth. Biology is a story of evolution of living organism on earth. All living organism, present, past and future, are linked to one another by the sharing of the common genetic material, but to varying degrees. Diversity in the living world. If you look around, you will see a large varieties of living organism, be it potted plant, insect, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observation in, the range and the varieties of organism that you see would increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organism in it. Each different kind of plant, animal or organism that you see represent a species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity or the number and types of organism present on the earth. We should remember here that as we explore new area and new old one, new organisms are continuously being identified. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plant and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find the ways and means to talk to each other to refer to organism we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organism such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established a procedure to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on the agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, that is ICBN. You may ask, how are animals named? Animals taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, that is ICZN. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensures that such a name has not been used for any other known organism. Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. This system of providing a name with the two components is called binomial nomenclature. This naming system given by Carolus Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system using a two-word format was found convenient. Let us take the example of mango to understand the way of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represents a genus, while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. First one, biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. The first word in a biological name represents a genus, while the second component denotes a specific epithet. Both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. The first word denoting the genus starts with the capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet, that is, at the end of the biological name, and is written in an abbreviated form. Example, Mangifera indica Linn. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organism, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is classification. Classification is a process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals or dogs, cats or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organism in that group. What image do you see when you think of dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dogs and not cats. Now, if we were to think of Alsatians, we know what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of animals with external ears and body hair. Likewise, in plants, if we were to try to talk of wheat, the picture of each of our mind will be of wheat plant, not of rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc. are convenient category we use to study organism. The scientific term for these categories is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at very different level. Plants also form a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that a dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals and dogs represents taxa at a different level. Hence, based on characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. External and internal structure, along with the structure of cell, development, process, and ecological information of an organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature are the process that are basic to taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Humans beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings needed to find source for their basic needs of food, clothing and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the use of various organisms. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about the different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of an organism. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as a title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship between the organism. Taxonomic category. Classification is not a single step process but involves a hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called the taxonomic category, and all categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category, referred to as a unit of classification, in fact represents a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Plural is taxa. Taxonomic categories and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing a common features like three pairs of jointed legs. It means insects are recognizable concrete objects which can be classified and thus were given a rank or category. Can you name other such groups of organisms? Remember, groups represents category. Category further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon in fact represents a unit of a classification. These taxonomic groups or categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. Taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum or division for plants, class, order, family, genus, and species. All organisms, including those in the plant and animal kingdoms, have species as the lowest category. Now, the question you may ask is how to place an organism in various categories. The basic requirement is a knowledge of characters of an individual or group of organism. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individual of the same kind of organisms as well as of the other kind of organism. Species. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with the fundamental similarities as a species. One should be able to distinguish one species from the other closely related species based on the distinct morphological difference. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum, that is potato, and Panthera leo. All the three names, indica, tuberosum, and leo, represent a specific epithet, while the first word, that is Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera, are genera and represents another higher level taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithets representing different organisms but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigris, and Solanum includes species like Nigrum and Melongena. Human being belongs to the species Sapien, which is grouped in the genus Homo. The scientific names thus for human being is written as Homo sapien. Next is genus. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to species of the other genera. We can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but both belongs to the genus Solanum. Lion, that is Panthera leo, leopard, that is Panthera pardus, and tiger, that is Panthera tigris, with the several common features, are all species of the genus Panthera. This genus differs from the other genus, that is Felis, which includes cats. Next is family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with the still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Among plant, for example, three different genera, that is Solanum, Petunia and Datura, are placed in the family Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera comprising lion, tiger, leopard is put along with the genus Felis, which includes cat, in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the features of a cat and a dog, you will find some similarities and some differences as well. They are separated into two different families, that is Felidae and Canidae respectively. Next one is order. You have seen earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on the number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on the aggregates of characters. Order, being a higher category, is an assemblage of families which exhibits a few similar characters. The similar characters are less in number as compared to different genera included in a family. Plant families like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polemoniales, mainly based on the floral characters. The animal order, that is Carnivora, includes families like Felidae and Canidae. Next one is class. This category includes related order. For example, order Primata comprising monkey, gorilla and gibbons is placed in class Mammalia along with the order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cat and dog. Class Mammalia has other orders also. Next one is phylum. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with the mammals, constitute the next higher category called phylum. All these based on the common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with the few similar characters are assigned to higher category called division. Next one, kingdom. All animals belongs to various phyla are assigned to the highest category called kingdom Animalia in the classification system of animal. The kingdom Plantae, on the other hand, is distinct and comprises all plant from various divisions. Henceforth, we will refer to these two groups as animals and plant kingdom. The taxonomic category from species to kingdom have been shown in ascending order starting with the species in figure 1.1. These are broad categories. However, taxonomists have also developed subcategories in this hierarchy to facilitate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. Look at the hierarchy in the figure 1.1. Can you recall the basis of arrangement? Say, for example, as we go higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characteristics goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more are the characteristics that the members within the taxon share. Higher the category, greater is the difficulty of determining the relationship to the other taxa at the same level. Hence, the problem of classification becomes more complex. Table 1.1 indicates the taxonomic categories to which some common organisms like housefly, man, mango and wheat belong. For example, like man, which is a common name and the biological name is Homo sapien, belongs to genus Homo, family Hominidae, order Primata, class Mammalia and phylum Chordata. Next one is housefly, which is a common name and the biological name is Musa domestica, belongs to genus Musa, family Mucidae, order Diptera, class Insecta and phylum Arthropoda. Next one is mango, which is a common name and the biological name is Mangifera indica, genus Mangifera, family Anacardiaceae, order Sapindales, class Dicotyledonei, and the division Angiospermae. Next one is wheat, common name, and the biological name is Triticum aestivum, genus Triticum, family Poaceae, order Poales, class Monocotyledonei, and the division Angiosperm. Next one, taxonomical aids. Taxonomic studies of various species of plants, animals, and the other organisms are useful in agriculture, forestry, industry, and in general in knowing our bioresources and their diversity. These studies would require correct classification and identification of organism. Identification of organism require intensive laboratory and field studies. The collection of actual specimen of the plant and animal species is essential and is the prime source of a taxonomic study. These are also fundamental to studies and the essentials for training in systematics. It is used for classification of an organism, and the information gathered is also stored along with the specimen. In some cases, the specimen is preserved for future studies. Biologists have established certain procedure and technique to store and preserve the information as well as the specimen. Some of these are explained to help you understand the usage of these aids. First one, herbarium. Herbarium is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed, and preserved on sheets. Further, these sheets are arranged according to universally accepted system of classification. These specimens, along with their description on herbarium sheets, become a storehouse or repository for future use. The herbarium sheets also carry a label providing the information about the date and place of collection. English, local, and botanical names, family, collector name, etc. Herbaria also serve as a quick referral system in taxonomical studies. Next one, botanical garden. These specialized gardens have collection of living plants for reference. Plant species in this garden are grown for identification purpose, and each plant is labeled indicating its botanical name or scientific name and its family. The famous botanical garden are at Kew, that is England, Indian Botanical Garden, Howrah in India, and at National Botanical Research Institute, Lucknow in India. Next one, museum. Biological museums are generally set up in educational institutes such as school and colleges. Museums have collection of preserved plant and animal specimens for study and reference. Specimens are preserved in the containers or jars in preservative solution. Plants and animal specimens may also be preserved as a dry specimen. Insects are preserved in insect box after collecting, killing, and pinning. Larger animals like birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Museums often have collection of skeletons of animals too. Next one, zoological park. These are the place where wild animals are kept in protected environments under human care and which enable us to learn about their food habitats and behavior. All animals in a zoo are provided as far as possible the conditions similar to their natural habitats. Children love visiting these parks commonly called zoos. Next one, key. Key is another taxonomical aid used for identification of plants and animals based on the similarities and dissimilarities. The keys are based on the contrasting characters generally in a pair called couplet. It represents the choice made between the two opposite options. This results in acceptance of only one and rejection of the other. Each statement in the key is called a lead. Separate taxonomic key are required for each taxonomic category such as family, genus and species for identification purpose. Keys are generally analytical in nature. Flora, manuals, monographs and catalogs are some other means of recording description. They also helps in correct identification. Flora contains the actual account of habitat and a distribution of plants of a given area. These provides the index to the plant species found in a particular area. Manuals are useful in providing information for the identification of names of species found in an area. Monographs contains information on any one taxon. Thank you.